Hey everyone. So first of all, I want to apologize for the sun beaming through the windows behind me. I'm not apologizing for the sun because I'm so happy that it's sunny outside and not gloomy and rainy, but it is a bit annoying when I'm filming, so I just thought I'd apologize for anyone's eyes that are going to be going a bit funny because of that. So we're in our 5th week of isolation. Yeah, 5th week. For some people, it's been even longer than that. They've been at home even longer than that. So apologies for that. I know it's hard work at the moment, but stay home and stay safe. They've now said that isolation lockdown is going on until the 7th of May, which is even worse. And I know the kids were supposed to be going back to school today after the Easter holidays, so it's hard work because they're not going back to school, they're at home. You've done all the baking and cooking you can possibly do. You've played all the games about 30 million times, and you've done all the puzzles in the house and everything else, and now you're running out of ideas. Well, today I'm going to give you something that you should be doing, or could be doing, should I say. It's something that I used to love as a child. I used to absolutely love reading books. Now, as we all know, as times went on, I was born in the 80s, so at that time, you know, most people only had like one television in the house, and there was a fight for the television. So me and my little brother, we used to argue. We used to be like, no, I want to watch this. And he'd be like, no, I want to watch this. And I'd be like, no, I want to watch this. And then my dad would turn up and go, yeah, but I'm in charge of the TV and I'm watching this. And we'd both sit there. Nowadays, that's not the case, right? Because people have iPads, they have their phones. So if one person's watching the TV, someone else might be in the kitchen watching something else. Someone might be in their room watching something else. And then on top of all of that, the child downstairs will be sitting there with their iPad watching something else there. So you don't have that issue anymore, which means reading has become something that people don't think they need to do. But you do. Reading is so much fun. When you get into a book and you absolutely love that book, trust me, you will want to carry on reading. So I'm going to give you some suggestions of books that I read when I was a child, books that I've read now, books that I'm reading now, and also books that my cousin recommended because I asked her, she's an avid reader, she's just come back from traveling after 6 months and she read loads of books while she was traveling, so she was telling me all about them. So I'm going to be telling you about some of these books. So we're going to start off with the books for the little teeny weeny babies, and I'm not going to explain what each book is, I'm just going to give you the names of the books, because I feel like it doesn't really need much explaining. The names of the books tend to give away what it's about. So the first one is Where's Spot? The Tiger That Came to Tea, The Very Hungry Caterpillar, The Snowman, Dear Zoo, We're Going on a Bear Hunt, The Cat in the Hat, and Princess Smarty Pants. Now, if you have older kids, obviously the books that I just mentioned were for like 0 to 5-year-olds, but if you've got slightly older kids, then let me tell you about a few books that I remember reading when I was younger. Charlotte's Web, Matilda, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, anything by Roald Dahl basically, The Story of Tracy Beaker, Good Night, Mr. Tom. Oh my God, I remember reading this in school and actually watching the film as well. I might have to go and find that film again. The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Now, this is not one that I read. This is one that my cousin made me read, and he used to watch the films and everything. A Bear Called Paddington. We all know about that one. And Horrid Henry. Now, if you've got teens in the house, then that's a different story completely. We all know about the Hunger Games, Twilight, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. So I'm going to tell you about some books that are not in those series, other books that they can read, and also some of them which have been turned into films. They may have already watched the film, and so the interesting thing is to actually watch the film and read the book and then compare notes and see what is different between the book and the film. So let's talk about the first one. The Fault in Our Stars. Despite the tumour shrinking medical miracle that has bought her a few more years, Hazel has never been anything but terminal. But when a gorgeous plot twist named Augustus Waters suddenly appears at the Cancer Kids support group, Hazel's story is about to become completely rewritten. The other one we're going to talk about is another book that was turned into a film. I have to say I wasn't that impressed with the film, but I've heard that the book is really, really good, and that's called Paper Towns. 1 month before graduating from his Central Florida high school, Quentin Q. Jacobson basks in the predictable boringness of his life until the beautiful and exciting Margot, Q's neighbor and classmate, takes him on a midnight adventure and then mysteriously disappears. Now this next one we're going to talk about actually got turned into a TV series, and I'm pretty sure that most teens out there watched this. I watched it. It was called 13 Reasons Why. When high school student Clay Jenkins receives a box in the mail containing 13 cassette tapes recorded by his classmate Hannah, who committed suicide, he spends a bewildering and heartbreaking night crisscrossing their town, listening to Hannah's voice recount the events leading up to her death. Now this next one I haven't read, and I haven't actually seen a film about it. I don't think there is a film about it, but I read about it just now and I thought this sounds really interesting, and I might actually try and read this one myself. It's called Speak. After being raped at a party, teenage Melinda is unable to tell angry partygoers why she called the police, and eventually stops speaking altogether. Speak follows Melinda as she overcomes her past and finds her voice. So that's your suggestions for the teens out there. And we're going to move on to books for adults. Now again, some of these I have read myself, and some of them are suggestions from my cousin. So we're going to start off with a book called The Chocolate Lovers Club. I read this a few years ago, and there are others in the series. So there's like The Chocolate Lovers Diet, The Chocolate Lovers Wedding. So once you read one, you'll probably want to read the others. A story about love, friendship and romance. Whenever there's a crisis, 4 women meet at their sanctuary, a cafe called Chocolate Heaven. Wouldn't we all love to go to Chocolate Heaven? And with a cheating boyfriend, a flirtatious boss, a gambling husband, and a loveless marriage, there's always plenty to discuss. Now, if you're on social media, you've probably heard and follow Jay Shetty. If you're not on social media, I am pretty sure you would have been sent one of his wisdom videos at some point in your life. So, Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty. Train your mind for peace and purpose every day. Jay Shetty, an autobiography empowerment book where Shetty draws on his life as a monk to reveal how to overcome negative thoughts and habits and access the calm and purpose that lies within us all. Now this book is great for both men and women. So for all the men out there, if you don't know what to read, this is definitely a good book for you. Now let's talk about a book for women, and I believe that this particular woman changed the way everybody looked at the First Lady of the United States. We're not talking about Mrs. Trump. No, of course we're not. We're talking about Mrs. Obama, Becoming by Michelle Obama, a memoir of the former United States First Lady. The book talks about her roots and how she found her voice, as well as her time in the White House, her public health campaign, and her role as a wife and a mother. Now this next book that I'm going to talk about actually got turned into a film, and I've seen the film and I've actually read the book, but my cousin also recommended this, and like I said, her book knowledge is like humongous, so I'm glad that she mentioned this one. It's Brick Lane by Monica Ali. Still in her teenage years, Nazneen finds herself in an arranged marriage with a disappointed older man. Away from her Bangladeshi village, home is now a cramped flat in a high-rise block in London's East End. Nazneen knows not a word of English and is forced to depend on her husband. Now, one more series of books that I love is called I Heart New York, and it is basically about a girl who found herself being cheated on by her fiance at her best friend's wedding, and she flees and moves away to New York City, somewhere I would love to go and live. Angela Clark runs away to New York, and like many, she falls in love with the city. She gets a makeover, dates 2 men, and gets herself a job as a writer for a magazine. Now there are so many in this series that you can also follow up on. There's I Heart Paris, I Heart Hawaii, I Heart Christmas. So if you read the first one, it's a bit like the Chocolate Lovers Club. You'll want to read the rest as well. And there are also some other books that I can tell you about. We've got like Bridget Jones's Diary, which was turned into a film. Confessions of a Shopaholic, also turned into a film. Crazy Rich Asians, another one that was turned into a film more recently. So definitely books that you need to go and check out. And finally, I want to tell you about a book that came out on Monday. It's called My Hero Is You. Now this is a new fictional book for kids, and it's to help them understand COVID-19 and the coronavirus. The scale and impact of the coronavirus disease, COVID-19 pandemic, is difficult for adults to wrap their minds around, much less children, but young people still have questions, and they are looking to adults to help them understand what is happening. My Hero Is You, a story developed for and by children around the world, offers a way for children and parents to together think about the questions the pandemic raises. Designed to be read by a parent, caregiver, or teacher alongside a child or a small group of children, the story has been shaped by more than 1,700 children, parents, caregivers, and teachers from around the world who took the time to share how they are coping with the impact of COVID-19. So I just felt that if we're talking about books, we had to talk about My Hero Is You. Definitely go and check it out. You can see it online. It's accessible to so many people in so many different languages as well. So that's all we're going to talk about for today. Go and check out some of those books, or tell me about books that you've also read that you found interesting, and we'll talk about more of them in a couple of weeks' time. Bye.